Time for rolling.
Welcome to Time for Rolling eSports, the weekly podcast that brings you Vainglory eSports. From predictions to recaps and analysis, we present to you the best in professional Vainglory. Now here's your hosts, Endless and Crude Sloth. It's
time for rolling.
Oh, what's up, guys? I hit record without even knowing. Endless here. We are back for another episode. This one's going to be a little different. I'm going to be joined with Pauly. We're going to talk about 5v5 and Worlds. Crude and I kind of sucked. Couldn't plan to get an episode out today that we wanted to, so I wasn't going to release a crappy episode for me and him talking about nothing. So I went ahead. I was going to do it by myself, but I said, you know what? I'll just bring Pauly on. He likes to talk about Vainglory as much as I do, so we discussed 5v5 in Worlds. That interview will be coming up after I do my little intro here. I want to talk to you guys real quick about the plan for the rest of the year. We will try to stick with the rest of the Tuesday, Thursday. Obviously, it is the 21st. That's when this episode is going to be released. So we have two more, the 26th to 28th. Hopefully, our plan is to get some two last interviews in with people talking about Worlds and the end of Vainglory 3v3 going into 2018. We'll see if that does happen or not. Holidays and stuff is around, so it can be kind of difficult to actually plan and schedule an interview with people with Christmas being right around the corner. If not, it'll just be Crude and I. It'll just be, talking random stuff like we always do. But for this episode and the rest of the year, it's really just going to be speculation probably for 5v5, talking about what we're excited for. Maybe we'll just do more of what's happening in the community type talk and talking with other content creators. It really is just up for the air at the end of the year, because going into next year, we still have a few months until we start having the eSports start back up. We will have a Viz League will be starting up. They will be doing their 3v3 winter type series lull. Interesting to see which teams actually get involved, if we're going to see the big orgs, or if the big orgs are going to be preparing for 5v5 and getting their roster set. We may see some new players in there. That'll be interesting to see. Of course, our one good friend here that's also having their tournament, Season 5, will be starting soon. That is the NACL League. Season 5 registration is open right now. The link is in the show notes. Get your teams in as quick as possible. I'm actually not even sure if registration's, I don't know when it closes, but make sure you get your team in there before it does. That is a great tournament hosted by the community. Can't wait to keep running more and more tournaments. Obviously, I do cast those games as much as I can, so you'll definitely be listening to my attempt at casting some Vainglory games there. And then our other friends, of course, is the Mobile Esports. That is a great company that focuses on all things mobile esports. They are trying to pioneer this new market. Mobile esports is this new thing to this world. We are trying to get more and more community events for Vainglory, more tournaments for Vainglory. I'm trying to get them more involved with it, as I think it is the best mobile game out there. They already run great tournaments for things like Critical Ops, Clash Royale, newer titles such as Rules of Survival and War Friends. Those are all great games. So if you want to follow them, make sure you do that at esports_mobile. They also have their own website. They have their YouTube you can subscribe to, where they do a lot of their streams at there. But right now they're doing their grand giveaway. This is a great chance to get maybe a new iPad Pro, maybe a Razer phone. But first, the grand prize winner gets a $100 gift card, G Fuel products, HyperCloud gaming headset, and a SteelSeries Stratus XL controller. So there's 9 runner-ups as well. So 10 people win. It's a great chance. Go ahead and get involved in that. There's no reason not to. It's free. It's free prizes. But definitely be looking out for more things from Mobile Esports. So excited to be on board with them, trying to do as much stuff around Vainglory as possible. But I think that is all I have. Let's go ahead and get into this interview. I hope you guys enjoy.
The right targets. That is one trade. T-Tigers is still pretty healthy. Tries to just jump in. He finds one. This is a big turnaround for Liberation X. They might get the third. They might find an ace here onto Lost Boytov. Surrey Strike is not enough. The Donna goes down. He might go for Donna Clips. He's got to get one. He's got to get two. Lost Boytov!
Lost Boy Toffee does it. He gets the 2 versus 1 turnaround under the turret.
He
This
lived
man
too.
is a god. That gauntlet was...
Time for rolling.
Say I have a iPhone 7 Plus and it's pretty decent size to play on.
I'm just gonna stick with the iPad, I think.
What iPad do you play on?
I just play on an iPad Mini 4.
So that's what I have, is an iPad Mini, and it works pretty well.
Yeah, I feel like an iPad Pro would be too big, so
Right. iPad Mini, I played on that first for the longest time, and then I didn't. Like, I don't know, I switched to phone just because my iPad was getting slower, because I only have iPad Mini 2, so it started getting slower, and I just need to get a new iPad Mini. It's kind of like the perfect size. It's big, but not too big.
I have a feeling I'm gonna have to get a new iPad. I might try to see. I don't know how 5v5 is gonna run on it.
Yeah, I don't think 585 will run on my iPad Mini 2.
No.
I know they say, like, oh, if you can play 3v3 on your device, you can play 5v5, but how well will you be able to play it? I'm not sure.
Yeah, exactly.
Recording episode 69. All right. Hey, how's it going, guys? Welcome to episode 69 of Time for Rolling Esports. We are back. We took Tuesday off. Did not want to do an episode then. I needed to recover from my sickness I got after I stayed up for way too many hours in a row watching Worlds. Unfortunately, Crude is not here. Mostly because me and him suck at planning, and we both were busy on different nights. But I didn't want to skip another day, so I was like, you know what? I'll just do something by myself, or I'll just, think of something else to do. Which my plan was to bring Pauly back on. How's it going, man?
Going pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Pauly was on with Mags Anberger to do his picks and preview of Worlds. I'm going to bring him back on. We're just going to do a little chat about his thought of Worlds overall, get someone else's opinion about all the crazy stuff that happened, maybe discuss a little 5v5, and I'll probably just bring you a short episode. Will it be short? Who knows? Knowing me, I talk too much, and I also will be doing my own little preview of the end of the year and what Crude and I's plan is, but that'll be after Pauly and I finish this. So, did you survive 4 days of Worlds?
Yeah, it was tough. It was like crazy when I had like alarms set for all hours of the night and waking up and like the light of the iPad illuminating the entire room throughout the evening. It was pretty crazy.
Did you have certain games that you like wanted to watch, so you stayed up for those, and then other ones you like fell asleep? Because I knew some people were just like, I'm gonna sleep during this game and I'll get back up by this game.
Yeah, I wanted to watch like TSM,
Yeah.
and then once it got to like semifinals, I just watched all the games.
Yeah, I think I stayed up for a lot of them. Crude and I ended up doing the whole kind of I'll stay up for the main night, and then he'll kind of watch the morning. Because day one, of course, was like 13 hours straight of, not necessarily straight, because we had breaks of technology difficulties and all that kind of crazy stuff. I was not expecting day one to go as poorly as it did. I'm sure SCMC
Oh my
didn't either,
God.
but it was.
I mean, like that production company, just like whoever they used in Singapore for their production company, like I doubt that they'll ever do business with them again.
Yeah, I mean, they got things fixed for the most part. There were still a few issues here and there, like on day two, and day three was pretty good, but like day one wasn't just like one issue. Like it never stopped like throughout the whole day.
Hmm.
Like even when the second stream was fired up and they were running on that secondary stream, the audio on that was so terrible. People like were still complaining, and the audio is just as bad as it not even being on in the first place.
Yeah, I was really happy that they turned it around, and I was dying when the 5v5 client crashed, the
Oh God.
spectator client.
So I wasn't really like upset about that because that was like, okay, 5v5, like who knows what's gonna happen. But when it crashed, it was so epic. Like it couldn't have been a better time for it to crash. Like right before TSM could have maybe won.
I know it was so bad, but at least the showcase was still really fun. I know, like I was so blinded by the fact that 5v5 was so awesome.
Yeah, I was not expecting it to look as good as it did. I don't know. I just wasn't expecting to be that hyped. Like we were all like hyped. We couldn't wait. We've been hearing about 5v5 forever, and then we actually see it. And I don't know. It's just amazing to see people on Twitter that definitely the people that are like very troll and they like to talk smack about SCMC. Like seeing all of them being like, "Holy crap! I can't wait for 5v5." Like SCMC created something awesome. So hopefully that continues and more people join in on the fun.
I definitely think that people tend to complain too much about the game and just like, oh, this hero's broken. Oh, SCMC Blitz is pay to win. It's kind of like, why don't you just like give them a break and
Right.
realize that this game is pretty young
I
and
mean,
they're like trying to trailblaze a market. All you know,
right.
like they don't realize that like mobile esports and like mobile gaming, it's not as established as the other markets, and it's like
Right.
SCMC has quite the challenge.
Yeah, and then people. I mean, we don't have to get into this completely. We'll go back to the worlds, but like comparing AOV to Vainglory and all that kind of stuff. Like Tencent Gaming is like games or Tencent Games is like one of the largest. They own everything. So like the
Mm-hmm.
fact that they do so well with marketing and they have so many players, and I think I just saw Sweet J tweet something about how over in China, they had announced that they had like 10 million some downloads already outside of that market or something. I don't really know what it was, but like people are just like, "Oh, SMC, you need to do better." I'm just like, "Do you realize SMC started like 3 years ago in someone's kitchen? Like, we're not
Mm-hmm.
talking about a organization that is as big as testing like gaming. I mean, people are comparing the two games and all this, competition. I mean, I think there is a competition between the two, but not at the same point. Not really. I mean, I think they still are two very different games. I don't really
Mm-hmm.
see the competitive scene in AOV being as serious as it's going to be in Vainglory.
For me, like, I'm like sorry to like people who like AOV, but like to me, AOV is something that maybe is more fun to play when you're maybe in the bathroom, and Vainglory is something that I would play like in my free time, like in my living room, sitting on the couch. You know what I mean? Like AOV is something like, yeah, I got 10 minutes to kill. I'll play round of AOV,
Right,
but
right,
like I would never really be like, I'm gonna set aside like 3 hours of my day to play AOV, like I do.
yeah. And I think that's the casual aspect of Vainglory, or the of casual aspect of AOV, because like for me, I just started playing it just to test it out. Obviously, that's been the big topic on Twitter and everything, is people talking about AOV, saying we can't keep trashing it. That's good for mobile gaming. Yeah, I agree with all that. So I was playing it, and it was fun. Like I was like, oh, I just lost 2 ranked games on Vainglory. I was super competitive, trying as hard as I could. Let me just jump on AOV
Mhm.
real quick and go 34-1 and win a game real quick in 12 minutes. Like it's just a different type of game. I get something different out of it. So
Yeah.
I'm
I mean,
not
yeah, there's definitely space in the market for both of them, but it's gonna be. I feel like it's gonna be like the whole Dota versus League thing. The people who really like Dota say League is like not is like shit compared to it, and the people
mhm,
who really like League say the same thing about Dota, but the two can coexist just fine.
yeah. I mean, I don't have a problem with AOV. I think Vainglory's graphics and the look of 5v5 just puts anything else to shame. Honestly, it just like when I saw 5v5, I was like, this is I truly feel like I'm looking at a game on a PC. Like it almost looked better than League. Like I don't know, like just the graphics and
Mhm.
the artwork was so good on 5v5.
And like the controls in AOV are just embarrassing, man. Like the controls in Vainglory are so nice. It's
Hmm.
awesome. But like joystick, I hate games with joystick. Like
Yeah,
I hate it. Like and that's like the biggest reason why I will never play AOV. I can't handle the like the whole joysticks
yeah.
gaming
It's
thing.
it's definitely going to be like your personal perspective. I didn't think the joystick was as bad as I thought it was going to be. It definitely is
Hmm.
weird, like using it. I don't feel like it's as like I don't have to be perfect like I do in Vainglory. Like I definitely have to be tapping correctly, and you can mistap, you can make a lot more mistakes. That's why I think Vainglory is so much more competitive. There's a higher skill cap. You have to practice and learn a lot more in Vainglory. I mean, it could be just because I have MOBA experience, so I can jump on AOV and casually go 34-1 and have no problem. I mean, I've
Hmm.
had bad games since I've been getting more into it and playing probably better players, but I mean, for the most part, it's like I don't really have to use too much of a skill cap. Every hero has like you don't have to like block a stun. Every hero has stuns on that, I feel like, in AoV, so everyone just is like stunning each other over and over and over, and there's not really much you can do to beat someone in a team fight. It's just basically whoever gets the better build quicker, because there's really no like fountain crucibles, that kind of stuff to hit and to keep yourself alive.
Yeah, I think that's where Vainglory is just so like original. The items, the way it's played, like yeah, everyone's like, oh, but you only get 3 abilities in Vainglory. It's like, yeah, but that doesn't like limit like
Mm-hmm.
the extent to like each hero has 3 abilities, sure, but you also have activatables. You also have your positioning in the fights. Like it's so much deeper than just like, oh, let me use 3 abilities.
Oh yeah, exactly. So if we do rotate back then to Worlds, at this point, day 1, 2, and 3, nothing. It really wasn't like too exciting when it comes to the future of Vainglory. We hadn't seen 5v5 yet.
Hmm.
So group stage, a lot crazy stuff happened. Rox Armada. That's a big one we can talk about. We can talk about um, Team Solo Mid. We'll put the two giants on the back burner real quick. Do you have any teams that I'm looking at your bracket currently? I don't know if you
Hmm.
remember all the teams, but were there any teams specifically that really surprised you? I know for me, the 2 teams from China were definitely my biggest surprise during group stages.
I think G2 really surprised me.
Okay, yeah, you had them getting knocked out of Group B.
And I think, yeah, they just surprised me. I think Hundor stepped up, played better than I thought he was going to play. Just like on Vox, especially because he was so used to all these crystal mages. I just didn't expect him to show up so much at Worlds, and I didn't expect Dark Potato to either. But I was
Yeah.
kind of happy to see it. Happy to be wrong about it.
Hmm.
So that was pretty much my big one.
Yeah.
And the SEA teams too, a lot better. A lot of people thought they.
Yeah, like Impunity definitely made a nice little run all the way to semifinals. I know Tribe, and when you look at Tribe, Rocks, and Impunity, there's just no way Rocks or Tribe get knocked out. And Rocks was not even anywhere close to what we've seen before. And TSM, I don't know if we put Rocks and TSM against each other, who wins that game? TSM probably, actually.
Yeah, probably. Like I think it was just I just don't know what happened, man. Like Von C was making these plays and like he just it seemed like he got tilted or something. I don't
Hmm.
know. But like the game where they picked Weapon Alpha into like Rona. Like what kind of pick is that? That's like the worst thing. Like your nightmare. Like your nightmare when you're playing a melee weapon power melee jungler. Like, oh god, they have Rona or oh god, they have right? Like why would you ever pick Rona like an alpha into and then even then he was like diving in 1v3 to try to save Crystal Miner. It's just such a bad call. It seems like they just didn't understand. Like they forgot
Yeah.
everything about how to draft.
Yeah, it was like, I mean, classic Von C, I get his no fear, just fight. He like initiates a lot of fight and really hopes his team can like come in and save him. But there was times that he'd be running away and he would turn around and prime directive right into the middle of 3 people. I'm just like, why are you going back in? Like, who's shot calling this to be like, yeah, this is a good idea right now? And Best Chuck did his best. I don't think he did like amazing. He's done some pretty hard carrying, I felt like, during autumn, but I just don't think no matter anything that they were doing wasn't very strong. Of course, they picked Alpha back to back. They weren't really doing anything special with their drafts, I felt like.
Yeah, and I think that they really missed the ball. Like the message there on like Jungle Lorelei, which turned out to be huge in the tournament, right? Coming out of the jungle for the EA team stuff.
Hmm.
Like that's something where I can't believe that they didn't like put Chuck on this hype, put Chuck on like Baron, and put Fonzie on that jungle Lorelei so that by late
Yeah.
act as like a second support. Just think that maybe they didn't prepare enough for Worlds, and everything they just seemed really like disjoint on the map. It didn't seem like that's wasn't.
Yeah, I don't know. TSM definitely came in, and I just have always been something like where I'm like, oh, they're my favorites coming in. I really want them to do well. They need to do well because every time we see them on the stage, it just doesn't work. I think that's just, I don't know if it's a mental thing, something that is just in their head that they need to get over when it comes to when you're on live stage. It's kind of crazy to see some teams come in and have such a huge like buff and a boost from being on that stage, and they play so well. And then you have teams like a TSM who just like kind of just crumble and disappoint. And I'm sure they hate hearing it and they know it, but I mean they literally come out every live event and they just can't finalize what they started during the regular seasons or during the splits.
Yeah, and I really think that that roster's gonna change. I can see that
Yeah.
happening. Like, I really hope TSM doesn't drop. They're like out of Vainglory altogether. I can't imagine they would with 5v5 coming.
Mhm.
But I could also see TSM being like, we're like, this is the end of the Flash X makes our team era, and they just ditch you know what I mean? They just cut everybody from the team because there's 2 new teams in the VG8 that don't have a,
Yeah.
you know, there's Team Hazard.
Yeah, Team
That's the one
Hazard
that
is the one that probably could be picked up. Vision
mhm.
Gaming, technically
Vision Gaming.
they
Yeah,
are part
technically.
of an org, but who knows? Because we've seen obviously big orgs get bought out or sell.
hmm
Yeah.
And that's just something I'm curious. It'll be really interesting, and like, maybe the best thing for TSM is to just start new. I don't know. I really, really think Chuck's going to Cloud9. Like, I really think that that's gonna
Dude,
happen.
that just oh my god, that would be nuts. That's okay, like to be 100% honest, that's something I don't want to see. I'm not saying Chuck going to Cloud9 will make this happen, but I do not want to see a combination of two rosters that make such a superstar team that we have no competition and that team just runs all over everyone for the beginning. Which that's what we kind of saw in the beginning of 3v3. The one team, TSM and Cloud9 always running all over everyone. And in this last couple of splits, it's gotten closer and closer in competition. But like if Best Chuck goes to Cloud9 and then one more person that's decent, like oh, that's gonna be deadly.
Well, I don't like. I know he really like him and like old school. Always like at the live events seem to get along pretty well. And everyone else is shaking hands or like hugging.
Hmm.
So like they're obviously friends. Chuck's the best player on team. His team totally failed him. I thought it worked. Like, they didn't put him in a position where he could be successful as a laner.
Right.
They didn't, like, his jungler didn't play well. So like they go into the games with a bad draft. So already he's at a disadvantage. Then his jungler plays like every solo queue and tries to 1v3 the enemy, right? Like,
Mm.
I feel like he got totally failed at Worlds. So like, why wouldn't he go to Cloud9? And that's the best chance for, like, if he goes to Cloud9, if I was him, being like, what's the best chance for me to win? Of course, go to Cloud9. Like,
Yeah.
that's perfect. The perfect roster at that point.
I guess it's no different than normal sports when you see players that are so high skilled kind of be on a team where the team's basically the main thing holding them back from getting that championship or truly putting them on like a pedestal that they can like thrive on. So I mean, it's going to be insane to see what happens. I don't know how long it's going to take until things start happening. I'm sure lots of teams have like the holidays and all this kind of stuff. So February is when 5 releases. The regular season probably doesn't start until like March or something. But I know like Biz League is doing like a normal 3v3 winter tournament.
Mm-hmm.
So that'd be interesting to see which teams like still want to take the time to play in that and get some more practice in. I'm not sure what kind of teams we'll see in that Viz League, but that'll be nice to have some filler of tournaments. Of course, the
Mm-hmm.
NACL will be gone as well. Shout out to NACL, but 5 is just gonna be chaotic. I think for the first season, just because of all the changes. I talked to some teams, and they're like, for the most part, they have no changes besides adding like a player to fill that 5v5, which I think is good. But I definitely do think teams will be kind of switching things up, especially if you look at Gangstars. Like, what is Gangstars going to look like when it comes to 5v5?
Yeah, I don't know. Like, they probably will try to pick up Team Hazard, I would
Right.
imagine. Like, I feel like there's really no orgs left. Like, Tribe's not changing. Like, they're not changing.
No.
They just won a world championship. They're not going to change. Cloud9 will probably stay relatively the same. Just add a player, like either a support or another lane. And then it's like I feel like the two biggest misses are TSM and 5e.
TSM and who? I think you broke up there a
And
little
Gang.
bit.
Oh, sorry, TSM and Gangstars.
Okay. Yeah, because if Gangstars tries to pick up Hazard, I mean, I think Hazard still is a team that's going to have some type of rework. That's why I feel so terrible for Vision and Hazard. Like, you finally got into VG8, but guess what? It's a whole new format and probably going to be a whole new type of tournament. Like, that's going to be rough for them to have to switch everything up, basically, going into that. But, I mean, who knows? It'll be interesting to see what truly does happen and what kind of superstar rosters we see formed. Rest of group stages, though, for Worlds. J1, yeah, we saw TSM obviously getting knocked out, so that was kind of insane seeing Detonation, Rocks, TSM, all of them getting knocked out. Having the two NA teams left, Cloud9 was probably the favorite going into it. Seeing Cloud9 versus Tribe, and then in the semis, and then Impunity versus Ace. When you saw that Cloud9 versus Tribe, was it still like, Cloud9 7-0 going into it? Did Tribe have any chance in your mind, or?
I thought it was going to be close. I still thought Cloud9 was just playing on another, but definitely like their obsession with putting old school on Vox seemed to be the downfall of them in Worlds, because like they just kept on picking Vox, and yeah, it's worked for them all season, but I think that it just finally caught up to them.
Yeah, I mean, like you look at the third place match, and he played Vox every time. And one of the matches he was 0-6. They still won, but I don't know what was going on with old school, to be honest. Like, he just, yeah, playing the same hero over and over like that, maybe trying to do something different to just get him in a different mode that he could play better on a different hero. Drafting wise, I wasn't really impressed with Cloud9's draft. I mean, especially when they draft game one and they get Vox, Fortress, and Adagio. I know the Adagio is a little weird, especially probably because they're just trying to take the weapon power Adagio away from Dienzio. But you see a Vox and Fortress, it's a comp they don't really lose on. So when they come out and lose on that comp right away, I'm sure old school is like, yikes, this is not good.
Yeah, I mean, I told in the show we did last time with Megs and Burgers, I remember mentioning that, and Burger was like, "Oh, and there's no way they're gonna run Fortress Vox random support," and I'm like, "Man, they do that all the time. It's all they do."
Yeah.
Like, and I think, I mean, Tribe going into it, they definitely prepared for that. Like, if you're going to play Cloud9, and you're like, what's one, if we have to prepare against one comp or learn to play against one comp, you'd be like Jungle Fortress and Vox.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been their go-to that they can win on and rely on. If something happens, they can go back to that. They start out with that against Tribe. Tribe next game drafts pretty much the same thing. They were running that Rona early on, and they go ahead and pick up the Weapon Power Sky, which that Weapon Power Sky wasn't even the buffed Weapon Power Sky that happens in 2.11. Weapon Power Sky got a buff in 2.11, but that was 2.10. But Dienzio was still showing that, a 3-item Sky like that, you can just kite around with enough crowd control from your team. So that was like a big focus going into the championships. Basically, you just need to keep Weapon Power Sky off of Dienzio. And I don't know, Zio just truly proved that he just has the confidence and the ability to just make plays and just can be the perfect amount of aggressive and have the right positioning in order to win. And after I saw that game one against Cloud9, I was like, Tribe's going to win it all.
Yeah, I agree. But also, like, man, Max Green showed up
yeah,
hardcore. Like, he was playing, some of the plays he was making were just, he stunned someone out of a gauntlet with a, like, that's insane.
with a what?
With the churn ult, with the trespass, he stunned someone out of the gauntlet. Like, what the hell? Like, I can't even, I struggle to use churn's ult, and like sometimes I'll use it, be like, oh wow, was I even chained to like anybody? I think I was chained to a minion. And then I'm like, oh well. Oops.
Yeah, the Turnalds are kind of impressive. He had a couple steals on the crystals, the miner or the gold miner. That was pretty impressive. Yeah, Max definitely stepped up. He proved that he was the top captain in that tournament. Gabe Vizel's always been that kind of person. I think Gabe still played well. Unfortunately, he just didn't. I'm not saying get carried by old school like he normally does, but old school definitely was just not the normal his normal self. So going into the finals of Ace versus finals. Let's talk about finals real quick. They played third place first, then 5v5, then grand finals. And I think me and you felt the same way. After we saw 5v5, I really wasn't excited to watch the grand finals.
Yeah, I was just like, oh, like, oh, like there's 4 less people on this map right now than I want there. Like, why is the map so small? Like, they really, really shouldn't have done that. I
I,
felt.
I think at one point there was like 46,000 people during like the third place going into 5v5, and then it got so late in the night you're losing a lot of people that couldn't stay up any longer, and you're back down to like 25,000 for the grand finals. So I think like I don't know, like the third place match, I get why that's important, but really, like, why start out with that? I think if you start out with grand finals, 5v5, and just end on third place match or just do it off stream, I'm sorry, it was a 3-0 game. I guess just because it was impunity in the third place match and like that's the home crowd. Um, but if you rework that schedule, I feel like a lot of people stick around for the 5v5 grand finals.
And like, I don't know if they put this much thought into it, but was someone sitting down and being like, all right, let's look at our schedule and the time zones and where our viewing demographic lives and make sure that the stream times match up with our demographics so we can get the most views. Like, were they even thinking about that? Or were they just like, well, it's in Singapore, so let's go off Singapore anytime?
Yeah, I don't know if it's just like they have to get a decent enough time in Singapore so like the people could come and everything, but you at least could do as much as you could to make it decent for us over here. Like you couldn't make everything perfect, but like the finals for instance, like people could survive the 2 a.m., 1 a.m. time frame, but like once you get to like that 4 and 5 after people have been up, that's when you start like people can't do it anymore and that's when you start losing them. So playing the grand finals around 4 like 5 6 a.m., like you could catch the people that slept all night long and missed 5v5 in the third place, and they could wake up in time just for grand finals, or you could just play the grand finals first when the stream first starts, when people are up and hyped and got that adrenaline going to watch it.
Yeah, and like most of the players who were there were jet lagged, probably never even adjusted to the Singapore time zone, so like it wouldn't have really been that detrimental
Yeah,
to
true.
have blue times, right? Like, I just don't understand.
Yeah, I think their numbers were decent enough for the most part. Day one, we saw the numbers at $20,000 or 20,000 drop all the way down to like 11,000. They lost like 9,000 people just because it was so long of not knowing what was happening. The worst part is when Mutual was like, "We'll be back in like 10 minutes," and then an hour goes by without any like true word about what's happening. It's just like, I don't know if you say we'll be back in 10 minutes and then it'd be an hour without truly letting people know what's happening. I mean, they were trying to on Twitter with a few tweets here and there, but other than that,
Yeah, like imagine you're like, hey, I've never heard of Vainglory. It's on the front page. I'm gonna check it out,
yeah,
and then you go to that.
yeah.
It's
You just,
unfortunate. I don't like setback.
yeah, I mean, you see the emblem just rotating over and over on the homepage, and you're like, is this what Vainglory is, or is this what something's supposed to be happening?
Yeah, and I was like really getting sick of listening to Playoff Beard. It's
Yeah.
to the point
Oh,
now where like, I can't hear his voice anymore without having flash.
I think that was actually one of their big problems, and I think they started getting so many complaints in Twitch chat and Twitter that they like turned it off and just like had the emblem rotate because it was just like, why, why are you making us watch the same player intro over and over? They didn't prepare for different intros to play just in case they had almost 2 hours of downtime.
It's almost it almost would have just been better for them to be playing like VODs,
Right.
qualifying. Like here's what Vainglory looks like for audiences who've never seen it before. People who are tuning into the first time have like a little thing going around along the bottom that says, "Hi, we're experiencing technical difficulties, but here are the qualifying matches for World."
Right.
You know what I mean? Like,
they didn't have that preparation, be able to pull that out, I guess, in order to do that.
I don't know. This always they should have done failure mode and effects analysis on the on Worlds. It's something you do in engineering,
I guess so.
but they should have had it on the go for Worlds.
Yeah, I'm sure SCMC people were not like, "Oh, this is great. Like, it's fine. We'll just suck it up." No, I'm sure there was a lot of talk about this is not okay. Like, I saw a couple of videos of like one of the CEOs just chilling in the crowd during the downtime. I'm like, I bet he is not happy right now. Like, I get they're working as hard as they can to get it back up, but I mean, like you said, they did partner with someone in order to have production go smoothly. And like, you do test runs, do you not? You do practice runs, you make sure everything's working before you start that day, and everything supposedly is. And then the first game that comes out, there's technical issues on the box. Like, it's like, ooh, that sucks.
My live stream 123. That's what got me.
Oh,
Like, they didn't even change the title. Like, are you kidding me right now? Like, I saw my live stream 123, and I was like, oh my god, like, what is happening right now? And of course, that became a meme, like, immediately.
Yeah, at least we got good memes. Like, that's one thing that was positive coming out of day one. We had a lot of good memes. We got a lot of good jokes on Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, whatever. Like, in the end, I don't think that it'll go on to have much effect. It's just someone definitely is getting fired somewhere because of what happened.
Possibly, yeah, it could be. But yeah, so the rest of the world's does for the most part go off without a bang. There was the one issue with 5v5 that we talked about, but the 5v5 matches, the first one was kind of that PBE testing match, which was interesting to watch because it was different format. There was a lot more just running around killing each other, not as much strategy or like turtling that we kind of saw eventually in the NA versus SEA regions. But anything specific that you saw about the 5v5 map or the objectives that you really liked or most excited about?
I like the dragon a lot.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool. Nice new objective. They're unique. It's not just like dragons in League, how each one of them's a different like buff basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I like how there's no like Baron-esque feature, and there's no like Rift Herald kind of thing. And I like the teleport boots.
Yeah, we didn't really get to see much play out of that. They tried once, Flash and Lance or Shinkaigen. I was kind of surprised they didn't. Not more people had teleport boots, so maybe that won't be as crucial as an item, but it will be important for certain situations like that. But the dragons, yeah, at least there's like a reason for why we have dragons, and like there's like a lore behind it. It wasn't like, oh, we picked dragons just because that's what's in every other MOBA. Some people are upset that they did pick dragons. Like, there's tons of other creatures out there, and since League does have dragons, and that's like kind of like the main thing they market, considering in their Worlds final they had like a fake dragon fly into the arena, and it was like VR, like virtual reality in. But I mean, they have lore behind why there's dragons. There's always been dragons in the lore, so I guess that makes perfect sense. Like we've said before, we can't just have magical things happen in the Vainglory world because there is lore connected to everything. There has to be an explanation. So, but like you said, they're unique. Like, the dragon is basically the Kraken. Like, Black Claw is basically the Kraken, but he always pushes mid lane. He kind of has like he can breathe fire and has more of like a ranged attack. But like, there's a lot more strategy to it. It's not like you just stick on Black Claw and push with him. Like, we saw the 1-3-1 push. We saw just push Black Claw down the middle and make the team focus some members on that while we go take all objectives and clear vision. There's just so much more that's going to happen now with that Black Claw objective.
Mm-hmm. I am kind of disappointed with the jungle camps.
Okay.
To be honest, kind of wish that like they're like tree ants everywhere. You know what I mean? Like, come on,
Yeah.
can you just make like a handful, like 5 different creatures, I don't want to be killing those all over the place. You know what I mean? Like, come up with something else. I know there's like a toad or something
Yeah.
that they're gonna replace one of them with, but like, why even use pose
Yeah.
for? I don't know, just maybe. And it's not even like I don't want to. Like, I know nothing about game development and like design, but would it really be that hard to be like, let's look at a book of mythical creatures, throw darts at it, pick the 5 that the darts land on, and turn those into the jungle camps?
Yeah. Because you see in there's like just different, you could like throw a spider or like, I mean, again, like everything lore has to be relevant here. So I'm sure they could somehow
Mm-hmm.
spin lore and get some different creatures out there. Maybe the treants is just like their way of keeping to what Vainglory is and being unique in that way. Because I guess if they start throwing like a pack of dogs or wolves in there, and there's like one big one and 3 little ones, everyone's like, oh, you copied League, and everyone's gonna start raging even more. So, but I think the artwork and everything, they've said that so many times that it's not finalized. There's gonna be a lot of things changing still. So like, who knows? Maybe that will be happening. I think the minions, mentioned to see like how normal they look compared to the 3v3 map. Obviously, there's like the captain minion and stuff. So that'll be interesting to see what changes, if anything changes there. But we saw really the first live version of 5v5. So there's still going to be things that change. And by the time we get to play it for early access, all those people that got lucky with the bugged golden ticket box and got their ticket early, we'll get our first look at that. We'll see when things start changing throughout the early access of it. So what else was there on 5v5 that I was... Oh, so Black Claw spawns at 7 minutes. I'm interested to see if that's going to be way too early for anyone to even have a chance to take Black Claw that early. Because I felt like for the 3 matches we saw, no one even tried to touch Black Claw until 15 minutes, which that's when Ghost Wing spawns, which is the second dragon. So I felt like even though 7 minutes was early, I don't think anyone's going to be strong enough, or maybe like in lower ranked matches, yes, like when the people suck and there's not much as, uh, you know, team conformity, those we'll see Black Claw get taken by 7 minutes. But I think for the most part in true esports, like the highest competition, I think it's gonna be pretty difficult to take Black Claw by 7 minutes. I could be wrong, but
Also, I really feel like that would facilitate snowballs way too easily. Because if you are really far ahead, and then all of a sudden you take Black Claw, it's like, you know what I mean? That's like, holy crap. Like,
yeah,
if someone's snowballing you, and then you can get Black Claw. We can get, sorry, which one is it? It's Black Claw, right? At 7?
he's
Or
the one that pushes. Yeah,
So, like, you get a dragon at 7 minutes and you're snowballing, you're going to have a 5v5 game over in like 15.
yeah,
Like, maybe they should push it back a bit, because the whole point 5v5 is really hard to snowball,
mm-hmm.
and I just hope that I just feel like that would just facilitate snowballs way.
Yeah. That's what I'm interested in. We've seen snowballs being issued in 3v3, and the topic of 5v5 being how long do we want it? Does it need to be a little longer? But we saw in the NACL match, like that was a pretty long match. We saw, North TSM with Shinkaigen, they were like winning clearly. Like they stole Ghost Wing, they went and got Black Claw, they were pushing really well. And then SEA started team fighting better towards the end. They got a couple wins and they ended up winning. So it was like such back and forth, a lot more intense than we've ever seen in 3v3, I feel like.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. I just think the level of competition that we're going to see is just going to be so awesome. It's going to be crazy. And the 5v5 will draw more players and increasing the player base. I'm excited to see like new faces come
Mm-hmm.
into the game, like maybe people who are like high skill tier in other MOBAs, and they're just like, oh, maybe I'll transition to Vainglory.
Right. Yeah, I mean, if you get those top challenger League of Legends teams that are players that quite can never make it into the big deal, especially with LCS being so specific about what teams are in. Man, if you get some good players from League come over, and who knows what kind of challenger teams now that will be starting to, those kids will start getting some more spotlight. So. But the big thing too is thinking about how much 3v3's changed. Think back to jungle shop in the middle constantly. I think back to flares, like could reveal you no matter where you were. There's been so much changes to 3v3 that's made it so much better. 5v5 that we just saw could be so different 5v5 worlds from a year from now. When we see 5v5 again, maybe in a whole year and how much has changed, it's going to be interesting to see how many big updates and major changes they have to rework things just because it's just not quite working out like they thought it would.
I'm guessing we'll probably see like 2 or 3 hero reworks, and then a bunch of I think maybe a couple new items, maybe some item changes.
Mm-hmm.
I just think, I mean, like I was messaging you in game actually while we were waiting for a queue or something, but like wave clearing potential is going to become really huge in 5v5 when it comes to like split pushing and stuff. So Ringo just has like he's gonna suffer a lot, and he's not gonna have AoE damage. And like Ringo, when you play him, it's to blow someone up, like one per, right? And like at least Taka, like you can blow someone up, but then you can like Kaku out, and you have this ability to rinse and repeat with Taka.
Right.
But with Ringo, it's like I am all in. I'm gonna blow you up, and now there's only one person left, so we win this 3v.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a lot easier to win a 4v5 than it is to win a 2v3. So I feel like Ringo just loses all his value in 5v5.
Yeah, that like you mentioned, you sent me a list of heroes, and literally every kind of major laner has a good, decent AoE damage that can spread damage out, and Ringo is definitely specifically probably made for 3v3. So yeah, we'll see what they can change with him if they do, or maybe he will still be that person in 5v5 who is kind of like, yeah, he's going to be a hyper carry, but if he gets jumped at all, he'll become pretty useless if he gets blown up early on. Because we saw Ringo in some of those 5v5 showcase matches. So, I mean, we actually saw him be decently viable. We saw a lot of Glaze, which I was surprised because if you think about his knockback, his whole point in 3v3 is to eliminate one player. So if he can use his afterburn, knock back the carry, there's only like a captain and maybe the jungler to attack that glaive. But now if he dives into 5 members and only knocks back one, now there's 4 members who could easily blow him up. So it'll be interesting to see if he is actually viable. We saw a lot of like Baptiste because he has like a lot of CC, a lot of, there's just going to be so much things that we're going to find that are OP and something that needs to be reworked. That's going to be pretty interesting.
Well, I think it's interesting is I think glaive is going to be played a lot differently in 5v5 because like I don't know if you play League, but Lee Sin in League, the guy with the kick?
Yep.
I mean, that kick is for kicking people away, right?
Yeah.
Like, I feel like glaive will be used like that. Like traditionally in 3v3, the afterburn, you afterburn past someone and punt them backwards.
Right.
I think it's going to be used more to punt them forwards in 5v5.
Yeah.
And just push them away instead of like pull them towards us. And then because he'll be afterburning towards his carry, pushing someone off them.
Yeah.
And then he's not exposed. He's with his carry. I think it'll be used more in that sense.
Yeah, that makes sense that way. It's definitely more of a traditional peel instead of just trying to set up a team fight.
And I mean, he'll still be able to use it for ganking in the early stages.
Yeah, that's true.
So I think that just people are going to have to learn how to play heroes a little differently in 5v5.
Yeah, we saw some teams do the traditional like 2 people in the bottom, and then we saw like Flash and Shinkai, and they kind of stuck together a lot. And like Shin did rotate for most of it. The thing that was most interesting between all the matches, I don't know if you want to talk about it real quick. We're already at 45 minutes. Classic us. But was the spell sword. Like spell sword is being built on like that glaive and that lance. A lot of utility heroes. They had 3 spell swords. That's all they were building.
Yeah, I've seen like people build that because spell sword offers a lot of cooldown and a good amount of weapon power because it gives you that heavy steel. So I think there's going to have to be, they might have to change something about cooldown from the same items not stacking.
Right.
Or something like that. Because which I think would make a little bit of sense. Like that if you have like cooldown especially, not stacking, I think, would be something that's useful because that would get rid of that like 5 spell sword build like right away.
Yeah. I mean,
Because the reason why they're stacking it is just so they can get weapon power and cooldown.
yeah, because the lance was still doing decent damage, but with 3 spell swords like that, I mean, yeah, the Githian walls and the impales you can do so quickly during a 5v5 map. I mean, it's gonna be interesting to see which heroes, like we already talked about, that become OP. I don't know, Lance for me, like, oh god, there's so many corridors and walls and stuff you can knock people into. But just playing AOV has completely confirmed that 5v5 team fights, because I've played a little league, but other than that, like 5v5 team fights are so much fun. You can actually win a 4v5 when you're down one man. A lot can happen,
Mhm.
and just watching those 5v5 matches in Vainglory, like you're seeing like true hyper carries. Like we saw Best Chuck, you know, 0 defense. We saw some Celeste with just 5 item crystal. They truly are like, if anyone touches me, I will die. But if I can stay safe and have 4 people protect me and be my front wall, like, then like they're just gonna sit there and carry.
Yeah, and what I'm excited for is like as a solo queue player, pretty much all I do. You know, right now, if one of your teammates decides that they don't want to play and that they're gonna act like a child, the game's over. Like we
Mm-hmm.
experienced that literally just before
Yep.
recording this today. But in 5v5, if someone wants to act like a child and not participate, you can still win a 4v5 game.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm excited for that.
Yeah, it definitely is less tilting when in AOV I've had a couple AFKs and I was like, all right, I mean there's still 4 people. We still got everything pretty much covered here. I think if we all perform better than, group up and get some team fights, I've definitely won some games. It's less like defeating when you see someone not playing. If you have like a captain, a carry, and a jungler, and your carry's AFK, it's just you and your captain, you're just like, all right, this is pointless now. Like it's almost immediately so hard to try to win that. I mean, I've done it very rarely, but that's just because the other team was just terrible. But
Hmm.
yeah, I think 5 v
Not to
5.
mention there's way more farm to go around, so everyone can chill out.
That's true too.
Like, oh, you took one of my minions. It's like there's 3 lanes, man. Calm. You have plenty of minions. Go elsewhere. Like
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. We didn't really see, like, for instance, like the whole, like the TSM. I'm still pointing back to that match because that's the one I've watched twice already. Von C was the jungler, but he went bot lane with Lucky Bread, and we saw Shin like picking up jungle farm. But for the most part, it was kind of like there's just a lot of laners rotating and also picking up jungle farm just to get more farm, the healing, the different buffs. So I think it'll be interesting to see what kind of gets set as meta and how much that changes once it starts happening.
yeah, I'm excited.
Yeah. All right. Well, anything else for 5v5 or anything else for Worlds then that you saw that was, again, I guess there's really not. This is the last 3v3 Worlds we'll have. We really won't be able to reference this Worlds too much going into the future because, last year or this year, we were always like, oh, Rox Armada last year was most dominant. But going into Worlds for 2018, we'll be like, well, last year was 3v3, so nothing really matters. So I think 2018 is just going to be a completely new game, completely different year. And basically anything up to this point, it will be kind of pointless.
Yep. I guess the only thing I have left to say is that time.
Time for rolling.
Yep, time for rolling.
Yes, we do need members. So shout out to Pauly who tweets that out and then asks people to retweet it. But then his Twitter's private and I couldn't retweet it.
Well, listen, I'm scared. People, like, I feel like no one. I don't want like my coworkers. Wait a minute,
No.
this is you? What a nerd! Like, this is your Twitter? Like, it was bad enough. Like, I won't even let my girlfriend.
No,
I'm
that's
like, no, you can't know what I
no.
like. She listened to the last episode of the podcast.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I listened to it to be supportive and everything, but it was like I was an anthropologist listening to a lost civilization because I didn't understand anything.
Oh yeah. I definitely know what you're talking about. My mom has listened to episodes before. My girlfriend definitely has listened to a few, and she's like, "You guys are speaking a different language. I don't get what you're saying."
Yeah, for sure.
Back
Yeah, all I
to
had
what?
to
Go
say
on.
was needs. All I had to say was time needs.
Yes, time needs members. So shout out to Pauly on Twitter if you can find him, and if you can actually tweet at him if his Twitter allows you to do that. or just join our Discord. But
Yeah.
that's pretty much all I have. Pauly and I are probably gonna go try to play more ranked and get another troll captain who likes to tell us what to do and then decides to just to run past turrets and die. So it's great.
Yep.
All right, thanks for coming on, man.
Yep.
Thanks for tuning in to Time for Rolling. If you liked what you heard, please leave a review on iTunes or Google Play Music and subscribe for weekly episodes. Follow us on Twitter at Time for Rolling and at TFR_esports. Until next week for another edition of
Time for rolling.